Getting started with what is a mushe, I would like to ask, how would you pronounce this word? Maybe you can pronounce it like muchis, maybe muxes, mujes, muxes. We're from different places, so I would like to know how would you pronounce it. Correct pronunciation is mushes. It's a Zapotecan word meaning feminine and afraid. Now that we can know the meaning of the word, we can actually define what is a mushe. A mushe is a person who was born with a male sex, but does not identify with that sex. They operate in society as feminine beings, wearing women's clothes and even operating in regularly feminine or women's jobs. However, they do not identify themselves as women either. A mushe is not a man, it's not a woman. They are just mushes. Dozens of different types of mushes in the society. However, we can divide them in two main of the categories, the guna and the ngini. The guna observe themselves more as a feminine being. They used to wear women's clothes as well refers to themselves with the she pronoun, as we can see in the image of the right. The Inquinis identify more themselves with a masculine pronouns as well with masculine clothes, as we can see in the image of the left of Lucas Avendaño, one of the most popular mushes. In his own words, the musheity has many layers, and not all are identified or can be identified in the same way. It's very important to point out that mushes are not drag queens and they are not transgender women. Many of them uses hormones to increase their breast size or making her hair look longer or many different types related to feminine beings. However, we cannot refer them as transgender people. It's more if you refer them as non-binary or simply as mushes. It's important to point out where the mushes were started. As we can see in the map, we are focusing on the south region of Mexico in a zone called Istmo de Tehuantepec. This was in 1,000 years ago, actually, a Zapotecan region. Nowadays, it's still an indigenous place for many people. As you can see on the map, it's marked with pink a city called Juchitlan. This city is mostly known because their acceptance to mushes, and they form up to 6% of the male population. And I wanted to point out that in the north, Istmo de Tehuantepec is where my family is, in a city called Coatzacoalcos. I would like to encourage you to try to pronounce all of these cities. One important question that was asked in the documentary was born or made? All people in Juchitlan agree that they were born this way. Society believed that maybe the moms, the matriarchal society pushed them to become mushes. However, even before they were born, the mom of the mushes had already told that they knew they will be born as mushes. Even one of the mothers that was interviewed said that she knew even that his son was identified as a boy, she knew before he was even born of the pain of the pregnancy that he will become a mushe. So probably you're now asking, how can we relate this to intercultural awareness topics? So, if the existence of a third gender in an indigenous region in Mexico is not sufficient as a cultural awakening, we can relate this to the work of Hofstadter as well with the tree model of culture. In this slide, we can see how Mexico was ranked in the Hofstadter insight in power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertain avoidance, and long-term orientation. We can see that we were high ranked in power distance, masculinity, and uncertainty avoidance. And we were low ranked in long-term orientation and individualism. So, we are going to deep a little bit more in masculinity and long-term orientation because they are really centered with what are the Mushes culture in general. As we could see in the previous slide, Mexico is a really short-term oriented country. We score really low, we scored 24 out of 100. So this means we are really close to the traditions. As you can see in the image, this is a little girl wearing a traditional garment. Myself, I have wear traditional garment as well, trying to learn the traditional dances of my state and of my city. We are close to our traditions. We are taught to respect elder people, as well the moral values that we have. And mostly important, in Mexico, we have a really fixed thinking of what is good and what is bad. And this idea has not changed in more than 5 decades. We have had this orientation to what is good and what is bad, and our moral values have been already fixed. As well, Mexico is a really masculine country, and we can even say he's a little bit sexist. We even have a word in Spanish for that, machismo. We are rated 8th place in the Masculine Gender Association worldwide. We are a really conservative Catholic country. The LGBTQIQ community are marginalized most of the time, as we can see in the picture of the left. There was a feminicide of a transgender woman. We are a very traditional country, clear distinction between men's and women's roles in the society, and it's really weird to find the terms non-binary, gender fluid, queer in Mexican society. I actually can bet my life that my parents don't know the difference between these three terms. Through the exploration of the Hofstede's five value dimension, we can ask ourselves, how is that Muxes have survived for centuries within a masculine and traditional society? And the answer is pretty simple, because our fundamental concern and also because of our tradition as well. They have helped to get out of there. I just told you Muxes have been around in Mexico for centuries. They have their start in the Zapotecan culture, and even it's easier for them in the Zapoteco because in this language they have no masculine or feminine pronouns. So in the past days, they could easily walk around being themselves without needing to identify themselves as men or women. Even nowadays, the Musha culture is so respected in the Istmo de Tehuantepec that people relationships between a Mushe and an heterosexual man are not considered that important or even homosexuality. So they are really um, fine with being themselves. The other reason why mushes have survived so many years in Mexico in our society is because family and friends are a really main fundamental concern in Mexico, and our value for that is really, really high. So our expansion is support to our family members, to our friends, to the people that we know. Uh, Many of the dads of the mushes are not that close to them and consider them as tragedy, but as we saw in previous slide, the moms, the matriarchal society that we had in the south of Mexico are the ones that are supported with there and maintain them together and embrace the Mushe society. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any doubt, don't hesitate and give me an email so I can answer that for you. And if you want the pronunciation of the words, Istmo de Tehuantepec, Mushe, Coatzacoalcos, Zapoteco. And that's it. Thank you.